Today's card is Positive Vibes, which quite appropriate considering what I'm imagining is happening out there with the global outage, IT, Microsoft stuff going on. So let's see what revitalizing words we get. Your love is limitless. Interesting that I get this. You guys ever invest your time with, especially a person? You can invest time in the form of your career, your education, things like that. Of course, you can experience passion and love from that. You ever deposit your love on someone and you absolutely feel like that is, one, not corresponded, two, not appreciated, three, not respected, four, pointless? I have experienced all of those things at the same time. And it's something that drives me crazy because nothing sucks more than you having the best of intentions, but someone else misinterprets that about you. And for me, what I hate the most is being accused of experiencing emotions that I truly do not have. All because this person who's doing that has trouble understanding that you are not like everybody else, or an experience that they may have had in the past. Just because you had a neglectful mom, a neglectful parent, you hear of other people talking shit about their relationships and how they don't want to get married because it's not worth it, because, I don't know, women steal, because men are physically abusive, because whatever the hell. They try to state that, for instance, relationships are condemned to fail because other people, whether in their personal circle or online or whatever it is, have shared that these are things that have happened. But do you ever stop to consider what made certain relationships work? Are you not curious about success stories? And I'm not trying to dismiss the fact that those people experienced those terrible things. What I have issue with is this is the hardest part about you having a platform in which you're expressing yourself and you can influence the masses. You are responsible for what you say. You're not responsible for how other people take it. That is one of my favorite things that I have ever read and heard, because you can be here telling your story as cleanly, sincerely as possible, but you don't know the effect that this may have on someone. Say, take my channel, for example. Everything I have ever said in here that's negative, which is like 97% of the content of this channel, unless my cat is in it or there's food in it, what I'm talking about is probably something bad, something negative. Just because I share that I had, say, certain bad experiences with my parents, I know that doesn't mean that everybody had a trash experience with their parents. And my experience with my, I guess I should say mom, because my father has never been around. But when I say the negative things that I say about my mom and how it affected me, I'm not hating on her. I'm not saying that your perception of her, if you were to meet her, has to consider the fact that there were some things that in the past she was not enough with, through no fault of her own, or whatever might have been a fault of her own. We don't care about that. And just because I'm saying that, just because I'm experiencing those feelings and thoughts and I'm sharing them, doesn't mean that I want any potential future parent who may see this and think of it as, well, damn, in the event of a divorce, it's gonna suck to leave that relationship. I better keep it for the sake of the children. That would be a bad take. Or something like, damn, after a divorce, no matter what I do for my kid, since it's not gonna be enough, I run the risk that my kid is going to grow up and be fucked in the head and I won't realize it until later. That is not at all saying don't get married and don't have kids. Just because I'm sharing those negative thoughts. The reason I'm taking the time to express that the way I am is because I have met people who, because you hear of the potential negative effects of a failed relationship, that makes you fear any kind of commitment to a person. Well, I heard the story of a man who, after he left this woman, he lost his home, he lost all of his money, and now he's poor, but now the woman is set up with the house and this, that, and the other. Unfortunately, people tend to remember the negative of something that is supposed to be good. To give you an example of how you could look at that in something material, imagine your favorite fancy, stupidly expensive car that's out there. Let's say that you happen to see one. It's rare, therefore it attracts your attention. But as you walk around it, one side happens to be absolutely demolished. I mean, it is dented, bent, one window is shattered. It has a bag over it as a result. Whatever that plastic is, whenever glass shatters, that's temporarily placed. You're just gonna remember the fact that this was a damaged ass fancy car. That's what I feel people do with relationships. Relationships have the potential of changing your life, building you up. You can truly get ahead. It is a privilege. It can protect you from things like being broke, loneliness, not having a safety net in the event something happens, support for your health in the event something happens again, and you may not be good enough on your own. You can at least count on someone at home to back you up. But some people just outright would rather be out here dying alone because they don't know how to make it work with somebody. That doesn't make any damn sense to me. Why am I saying all this when the card simply reads that your love is limitless? Do I think my love is limitless? The deepest sources of my pain, emotional and mental, have always been because I have given a lot, given my all in the most sincere and purest of ways, but it has been rejected, it has been pushed away, it has been disrespected, it has been misunderstood, it has been insulted, and that shit hurts because unfortunately the person doing this damage to you is so fucking convinced that you truly are not that way. Like, say, I have been called selfish, I have been called crazy, I have been called possessive, I have been called controlling and manipulative, and I'm like, only a motherfucker who does not know me says those things about me. And I just think that that is incredibly painful, incredibly insulting. But despite all that, and I kind of hate myself for this, once I have imprinted on you as one of my treasured beings, one of the beings that I just love, you can do me very wrong, and somehow I'll still be there with you, showing up. And I know that that is something incredibly harmful. That is something I definitely need to work on and get better with. And part of the journey with this channel is sharing what I do get around to and what I don't get around to that I wish to get around to, but what's holding me back. And accepting shit like this is undoubtedly the most daunting thing I ever experienced mentally and emotionally, because I just refuse to believe that I can make a mistake at something as basic as picking whom I give my love to, because I don't like to be a conditional person. I mess with you, I give my all, I give my everything, I'm involved entirely. I'm not going to start investing in you to all of a sudden quit. For instance, my job, it's been the same job the whole time, even though I know that I need to go, that place is really not very good for me anymore. Something about it tells me that this truly is what I ought to continue to remain committed to until my other plans have more clarity, because they're definitely not firm plans, but at least I can say that I'm committed to them. This channel, if more than 2,000 videos since 2016 and more on the way does not prove that I don't have commitment problems, despite me knowing commitment problems as a kid, I don't know what other kind of proof you need that that's not an issue that I have. But someone could look at me and be like, oh, since your father had commitment problems with you, you are condemned to having commitment problems. Well, my mom didn't have commitment problems with me, so maybe her example is what I inherited the most. But now it is very easy for me to diagnose on someone who has commitment problems. And most of my clashes has been that when I say I am doing something today, I do it today with haste and period. But some people just love to postpone, and they don't realize that that stresses them out in the background, even if physically and outwardly you appear calm. Stuff is piling up on you. Stuff has deadlines, and if you don't address them, this shit is gonna catch up with you, and then you're gonna be scrambling, and I am going to have to be there present witnessing your meltdown when that was perfectly preventable. That is the kind of thing that when I think about my love being limitless, I'm like, because I like to give the best of myself, I would not allow for things like that to happen to me. My sense of responsibility will be one of the sharpest things. Ever since I was a teen, unfortunately, I don't know how to undo that. And that is something that sometimes I think I really ought to prioritize, because I have tried to make things work with people who are definitely, evidently not right for me. But sometimes I just convince myself that, well, this is what I have, this is what I was given, therefore I have to remain committed to it. And I don't have a choice, because my love is limitless. And if I let go of this project or this person, then I'm proving myself as a liar. I'm not giving as limitless. I'm not loving as limitless as I claim to love. And that is an incredibly detrimental thing to do, guys. And even though I very easily spat it out to you just now, that is something that once I'm out here in the wild, living my life, applying those things, that's just still something that I have trouble accepting. I try to use the example of my dad as a motivator. Sometimes I'm like, how do I feel about my dad? I clearly don't really hate him, but I definitely cannot say I love him. But I know in the past I have said that I love him, because I'm like, well, you're my dad, and you guys know that I have always said here that I am either black or white. There's no gray area with me. Either I love the guy or I don't. But just because I don't love him, like in the grand scheme of things, I can't say I love him. I'm like, does that mean that I hate him? Can I be in the gray area and be neutral about him? And I'm like, no, I have to pick a side, because I don't have commitment issues and I don't have definition issues. It's either I like you or I don't. But I can not love you, but you don't have to be my enemy. You don't have to be something bad happening in my life. See what I mean? That is the complexity that I'm trying to define now. Because there are people currently who I can say, yeah, my love toward this person is limitless, but these are the ways in which I get hurt by them, and they don't seem to care. But instead, they turn it about how I have done things that hurt them, even though when I try to explain how what I'm doing shouldn't be perceived as hurtful, they don't want to hear it. And I'm like, well, if you don't have time to hear me, I don't have time to hear you, period. So I know this was a weird one, guys, because the topic of love is something that is complicated for me, because I cannot say that I have had multiple examples of something that is long lasting without issues. My limitless love for my mom has come with times in which my mom and I were having issues and we were not getting along. In my relationships with a man, I have had times that were far in between, that were cool and fun. But I have had times when shit got pretty bad and severe. And illustrating this to the individual was simply tough, because they don't tend to be good listeners. And after they proved to me that they're not a good listener, then I started to be the one who became the bad listener, because now I'm like, no, I'm tired of doing the listening, the good listening. Now I have to do the good talking. And you need to learn to be a good listener of the good talking. And a lot of the challenges and issues that we were going through wouldn't have happened. All you have to do is not compete with the other person. Acknowledge that you have attitude problems, major attitude problems that interfere, and that ought to help you realize that some things are not as bad as they seem. You would not owe me an apology. if I ever get lucky and get those, you know, because it's very hard once you're done with somebody. It's like, it doesn't matter what they do. I'm like, you're out of my life. I ended you. We had to quit. We had to leave. Why on God's green earth would you try to linger in my life? No. Once we're done, we cannot even be friends. There's just no way that can work, especially if there hasn't been time in between the rupture for us to have our space. Maybe 10 years from now, you can reappear in my life, and as long as I can get the vibe from you that our history is truly buried with you, as buried as it is with me, then okay, I could consider allowing you in my life again, but I don't have to. And that's one of those reasons why I don't understand the people who feel proud about being swingers, like going from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship, or whatever y'all are doing, situationships, hooking up ships, stuff like that. This is stuff you gotta be responsible and serious with. And if you're not going to be giving your limitless love to something, don't get involved with it at all, especially if it's something that's consuming you, consuming from you. That is what this is about. Anything that consumes your energy, your time, your money, you have to have limitless love for it, or else break away from it. And that's why you guys don't see me change very much. I already have those things well defined. I hope that made sense to you guys. I'm not here trying to talk bad about anybody or anything in particular. It's more about the things that I have experienced firsthand and observed, and what I think has led up to a disruption of my limitless love. But limitless love, I guess that is what I needed to hear, the phrasing I needed to hear when I was a teen, experiencing the hurt and issues that I was having, because it just sucked to feel like nobody cared about you or nobody loved you, but you had so much energy and love and passion and dedication and attention to give, but it was just not something that nobody else valued. Then I started to doubt myself. I started questioning my own credibility, validity. I felt like a fraud, especially when the people on the receiving end of my limitless love were treating me so terribly. And nothing worse than you pointing out that they're treating you terribly and they're in fucking denial, man. That shit sucks. But I want to say that's a big part of where my warrior, especially mental warrior attitude came about. Do I sound very negative and critical and all that shit here? Yes. But do you understand the origin of it? That's pretty much the entire point of the stories I share here. Understand the origin, because I am no different from the other people who have reacted to these things, but to an extreme, to where we have to put them in people cages, or we gotta put them under the ground, or they just waste away alive until they are no more. I just decided that that's not my style, and I wasn't going to let that be how I end up. Like, I just have too much pride for that. So anyways, you guys, that's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to describe to me what limitless love is to you, and if you think that you're capable of giving it. I'm at a stage in which I am fractioning how I put out my limitless love. It's like, okay, I can give you the first quarter now, serve you the next half later, so on and so forth, build from there. But my time of just giving my all at once is over, unless I get a good feeling in my gut that is probably proper with something or someone. I am not doing that shit. It's like, okay, I'm willing to give you, say, you could look at it as, I'm willing to give you a very small, trivial fraction of my bank account as opposed to giving you all of my wealth that may be in it. See what I mean? It's like, nah, man, that's stupid. Why would I give you all of my money to borrow? What if I don't get it back? So now I'm trying to have slightly selfish tendencies, because I feel the way that I feel. The way that I feel is real and true. Why would I deny it? You know, and I have lived in denial for way too long, and it has cost me dearly, especially in the time sector. And by extension, since you guys know that I like to think, my mental and emotional well-being. That's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.